Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Hack, and I cover video game content here on YouTube, mostly having to do with the Elder Scrolls series, and specifically the Elder Scrolls Online. And in this video, I want to look at all the possibilities of a new class being added to ESO in the future, what I think that could be, and what it means for the longevity and the success of the game moving forward. Now, before we get started, I will be showing some gameplay from some of the new dungeons coming up in the Flames of Ambition DLC, some of the boss fights, which I recently did in a solo run. But if you don't want to spoil any of those upcoming dungeon experiences, then I recommend just listening to the audio. And if you do enjoy the type of content that I create on this channel, make sure to let me know by crushing that like button. And if you really enjoy my content, then I'd recommend subscribing right here on YouTube with those notifications turned on so you don't miss anything. We also have a YouTube membership program with exclusive benefits like members-only videos. And of course, I also have my website, hacktheminotaur.com, for all my written content, including builds and guides for the Elder Scrolls Online. If you're interested in any of that, check the description below for more info. And with that out of the way, let's talk about the future of classes in the Elder Scrolls Online. So I think it's safe to say at this point that the Elder Scrolls Online will not be getting a new class this year, at least in 2021, which may have come as a surprise to some, considering that the previous two new classes added to ESO happened in 2-year intervals, and now it's been 2 years since the most recent class, the Necromancer, was added back in 2019. But in my opinion, not bringing out a new class this year is actually a good call for the overall health of the game and the community. And what I mean by this is that the developers over at ZOS have been working diligently for the past few years on improving the game's internal systems to try to solidify and improve the game's overall performance. I mean, they're looking at each individual system and seeing how it affects game performance across the board, and then they're improving on those systems as needed. For example, last year we saw many changes to how skills and passives work in the game. We saw simplified calculations being put into the game for those. We also saw continued experimenting with PvP implementations of skills in order to reduce strain on the servers and to reduce lag, which is still an ongoing process, still in 2021, by the way. Still working on it. We'll see how it goes. And this year, of course, we're seeing a complete rework of the champion point system, now becoming the CP 2.0 system, with a greater focus on player choice and build options, yes, for sure, but actually also a drastically reduced load on the server by limiting how many CP nodes you can have active at one time. So make no mistake about it, performance is the focus of most recent updates, and that's going to continue, I think, for the near future. Now, if you know anything about ESO and have been playing for some time, you'll probably consider this to be a good thing as well. You know that the game's greatest enemy, its greatest challenge, the biggest hurdle to its own success is simple. It's just overcoming performance issues, overcoming bugs, and increasing that server stability so that when players are online, they can actually enjoy playing the game and everything ESO has to offer without getting frustrated with the lag and with the bugs. I mean, that's it. That's all they need to do. As ESO has continued to grow and develop over time and add all these new systems, it's becoming harder and harder to do that, to maintain that solid performance experience. And the game has definitely suffered, especially in the last couple years. I mean, I know many longtime players that have just stopped playing. That's too bad because it didn't have to be like that. But as I said, I think the game is on the right track now, and the developers are working hard to make up all that lost ground, all while still publishing 4 major content updates every year. And that's actually pretty big, I think. I don't know a lot of studios that can do that. So all that to say, I'm actually glad that a new class was not added to ESO this time around. I love new classes, obviously. I love theory crafting builds. That's what this channel is all about. But I think limiting new classes, especially this year, is the right call, given where the game is currently and how they're trying to update and improve the game so that it can live on even longer into the future. I mean, just imagine if a class was added this year and how it would start to just break things in every aspect of the game, as new classes tend to do. I mean, we all remember the Necromancer class when that was released. Doing that again at this point would basically wipe out all the work that the developers have been doing over the past couple years to get the game in better shape overall. So I'm just glad another class hasn't come in yet. Now I say yet because that doesn't mean we'll never see a 7th class added into the Elder Scrolls Online. I think we will. I mean, unless the developers decide to go with some type of completely new system like subclasses or like a specialization system, which I don't think they will. I don't really think it fits with the game. No, I think we will see a new class added in the near future once the game has become more stable. We just talked about maybe even in the next 1 or 2 years, so maybe in 2022 or 2023. I mean, listen, we all know that new classes sell expansions, and at the end of the day, the team will need something new to keep the game fresh and engaging and keep it relevant in the MMO market. And a new class is often the best way to do that. So I think we will see one again in the near future, which just begs the question then, which class is next? So I have my own guesses on this, which I think is looking maybe a little bit more possible now that I've seen some of the new content for 2021. So let's talk about my predictions moving forward. All right, so I've been on the PTS testing out the latest dungeons, among other things, coming up in the next DLC, the Flames of Ambition DLC, which I'm pretty excited about. It's just about a month away now. In this video footage that you're watching, this is going to be Black Drake Villa, which is a really fun dungeon. Big props to the dev team, the dungeon team on this. It's probably one of my favorite dungeons in the game so far. And the final boss is certainly my favorite boss fight that I can think of, at least right now. Now, speaking of this final boss fight, I don't know about you, but I really like the boss's whole look, his aesthetic. He has his own style, which to me kind of seems similar or martial arts type of fighting style. I mean, he has this stance, he has the gestures, and even has some combat animations that I hadn't really seen before. I mean, I know there are monk-like NPCs in the Elsewhere chapter, but I wasn't aware of these specific animations that I saw in this fight in particular, that being the strikes, the kicks, even a roundhouse kick you can see at certain times. All those animations are a part of this fight, and they look really good. But I know what you're thinking, that's just animations on a boss, right? So that doesn't mean that much, but it could potentially, because if the animations are already in the game for this monk character or this martial arts play style, then that means the time, the talent, and the resources have already been spent on creating these, and it would make sense to actually reuse some of these animations and ideas on more than just a few NPCs. So why not on a new class as well? Keep in mind, this has happened before too. For example, before the Warden or the Necromancer class were released in ESO, we already had Warden and Necromancer NPCs in the game with similar animations and play styles already developed. There were already Ranger NPCs that could summon bears, and there were already Necromancers that could summon skeletons. Yes, the animations were not exactly the same as what we ended up getting with those new classes, but again, the concepts and the ideas were there as a starting point, which got me thinking that maybe these monk NPCs have something of a starting point here as well. Also, monks and unarmed combat have been in previous Elder Scrolls titles, including most recently, I believe, the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, so there's certainly some basis, in the test lore for this style as a class. However, I think if ESO was to bring in the quote-unquote monk class or style, it would need to be pretty different than your standard pugilist, hand-to-hand combat style character. It would actually need to mix in some magical abilities, right? Some healing, some tanking abilities, and it would need a much more unique feel than just an unarmed class. Basically, the monk would be the underlying idea, I think, but the class would need to be expanded on a lot more to flesh it out. Kind of like how the Nightblade class can be described as a quote-unquote stealthy rogue, but the actual Nightblade skills and abilities in ESO, those actually play out a lot differently than that description, especially on Magicka builds. And the Pyroturge from Black Drake Villa, he actually does this pretty well. He's more than just a plain monk. For example, this boss uses his hands to summon fire tornadoes and fiery meteors and even flaming salamanders that run across the battlefield, all in this one fight. In addition to those, basic monk style kicks, strikes, punches, which he does as well. He also summons a magical weapon to fight with. He summons the flame behemoths. He throws fireballs and he can teleport. I mean, so in this example, you could see how you can take this very basic kind of concept for a monk and then expand on it into almost this elemental realm. And I think something like this, just starting with a basic idea and then expanding onto it like this, could actually fit really well into ESO, especially if you brought in other elements like this. Probably not fire like this NPC has, right? As we know, that's the Dragon Knight's thematic territory. But imagine these same abilities, but with something else, maybe like wind or water or some other element. That would be interesting for sure. Anyways, those are just my most recent thoughts on what the next class could be for the Elder Scrolls Online. Of course, I could be way off on this, as I so often am, but that's why I'd love to read your comments down below. Check out my Black Drake Villa run if you haven't already, and let me know if you think a class like that could work in the Elder Scrolls Online, or if not, what do you think would work better? Let us know what you think. As always, thank you all so much for watching. If you liked the video today, don't forget to crush that like button. If you're new here, hit subscribe. Don't forget to check out my website and my social media. Links are down below for much more Elder Scrolls Online content. I hope you're doing well. Stay safe out there, and I will see you around in the next video.